All right, today we're diving into an absolute masterpiece of existentialist thought, Simone de Beauvoir's The Ethics of Ambiguity. And this is a powerful book because it forces us to get real with one of the most fundamental questions about what it even means to be human.
Just think about that for a second. Are you basically a product of your environment? Your DNA, your society, the family you were born into, just a thing that gets acted upon? Or are you the author of your own story, a totally free agent who gets to invent your own meaning and your own values?
And that right there is the central, brilliant, and deeply uncomfortable idea in her work. She argues that we are fundamentally ambiguous. We're caught in this constant, permanent tension between being a free thinking mind and, at the same time, a physical body that's subject to all the world's rules and limitations.
So this was her attempt to build a whole system of ethics based on that exact tension. Fun fact, she actually took on this challenge herself after claiming it was impossible to base an ethics on her partner Jean-Paul Sartre's philosophy. This book was the result. Okay, so to really get what she's building here, we have to first get a solid group on this core idea of ambiguity. Seriously, it is the foundation for everything else she's about to say. So Beauvoir says, think of our existence as having two sides. On one hand, we're a subject. That means we have consciousness, we're self-aware, and we have this radical freedom to choose what we do. But then on the other hand, we are an object, what she calls our facticity. We have a body, we live in a society with rules, we have physical limits, and other people have power over us. The key is, you're never just one or the other. You're both. Always. And as you can probably imagine, living with that constant push and pull, well, it's unsettling. It creates this deep anxiety. And because of that anxiety, Beauvoir says we invent all sorts of ways to hide from our freedom, to pretend we're just one thing, but not both. So let's look at the different types of people she identifies. All right, so at the very, very bottom of this ethical ladder, Beauvoir places the subman. This is the person who tries to escape that anxiety of freedom by just pretending it's not even there. The subman basically lives in a state of willful ignorance. They just refuse to engage. They don't want to choose, and they let themselves get carried along by whatever's happening, never questioning a thing. They're completely denying their own power to shape their life. Now, a step up from the subman is the serious man. And honestly, this might be one of the most recognizable ways people run away from their freedom. You've probably met a few. So what the serious man does is they escape the anxiety of having to choose by just grabbing on to some external set of values, like an ideology, a religion, some big cause. And they treat it as an absolute, unquestionable truth. It's almost like reverting back to being a kid, where the rules aren't chosen, they're just facts. It lets them off the hook. But see, both of these types, they're trying to deny their freedom entirely. So what happens when people actually embrace it, but for all the wrong reasons? Well, that brings us to a whole different group of people. These folks don't deny their freedom at all. In fact, they celebrate it, but they misuse it because they fail to see that other people are free too. And for Beauvoir, that is the ultimate ethical failure. First up in this group is the nihilist. But hold on, this isn't just someone who believes in nothing. Beauvoir's definition is way more specific and, frankly, a lot more insightful. See, here's the brilliant part of her take. The nihilist is just a failed serious man. That absolute value they dedicated their whole life to, it crumbled. And in their bitter disappointment, they decide that if they can't be everything, then they'll just be nothing. They reject it all out of spite. So from the pure inaction of the nihilist, we swing to the other extreme, the pure action of the adventurer. This person looks incredibly dynamic and free, right? They're always involved in some exciting project or conquest. The adventurer loves the game, the thrill of the chase, but the actual goal, it's meaningless to them. And this creates a kind of contempt for the world, and especially for the people in it. They just become pieces on a chessboard, things to be manipulated for the sake of the conquest itself. And finally, there's the passionate man. Now this person is the closest of all the flawed types to the ethical ideal, but they make one critical, fatal mistake. So unlike the adventurer, the passionate man cares deeply about their goal. They are consumed by it. Their passion gives their life meaning. The problem is, that passion is so all-consuming that other people become mere objects. Either they're tools to help achieve the goal, or they're obstacles that need to be removed. They completely fail to respect the freedom of others. Okay, so
After walking through all these ways we can fail, all these ways we can hide from the truth of our existence, what's the solution? What does Beauvoir actually propose as the path to a real, meaningful, and genuinely free life?
So here it is. This is the answer. Genuine freedom isn't just about doing your own thing. It's about taking that passion, the energy of the adventurer and the commitment of the passionate man, and channeling it, converting it into a new, higher project, actively wanting and working for the freedom of other people. And this line, this is the ethical heart of the entire book. For Beauvoir, freedom is not a solo mission. You cannot be truly free if you're treating others as objects or denying their liberty. Our freedoms are all tangled up together. To authentically want your own freedom means you have to want it for everybody else too. Of course, saying this ideal out loud is one thing. Actually living it out in our complex, messy world, well, that's a whole other story. And Beauvoir doesn't shy away from the incredibly tough questions that pop up when you try to put this into practice. I mean, she tackles the hardest questions head on. If you're being oppressed, is using violence justified to win your freedom? How do you act ethically when you have no idea what the future holds? There are no easy formulas here. For Beauvoir, ethics isn't a rulebook. It's this constant, difficult challenge of inventing a responsible solution for every unique situation we face. And this brings us to her really beautiful concluding thought. We have to embrace our ambiguity, that tension between being an object and a subject. Yeah, we're finite, we're constrained by reality, but through our freedom, our existence opens up onto infinite possibilities. The ethical life is about choosing consciously to live in that tension, acting within our limits to create a future that expands freedom for everyone. So in the end, Beauvoir leaves us with a challenge. It's not a set of rules, it's a call to action. You are both a subject and an object, a creator and a creation. Your freedom is a given, but what you do with it, that's not. The choice is yours.